And also Tolga Ulutas from Akbank. He's the EVP of Akbank. Please may I have you on the stage, please. You're welcome again. So the stage is yours. Thank you.
So am I going first? Right, I'm going first. Or okay, good. All right. Good morning to everyone. I am head of Akbank Direct, which is Akbank's front-running operation to build a digital bank and digitize the bank. So, and we are sponsoring this event, so we are happy to sponsor this type of event, which is far beyond marketing because we are a true believer in this dynamic here, right? So I will try to, as an upbringing, I started as a developer and a technologist, and then I became a business consultant, and I'm now in the bank. And we all know how banks are, right? They are big, their vantage point is on offering trust networks, secure positions, basically a peace of mind to everyone that has their money in the bank and all that. And be everywhere, do pretty much everything and serve customers in all types of access points. So obviously, the Bitcoin is the sexy part of the discussion, and I'm going to leave that aside for my presentation or discussion. As a bank, I'm going to try to explain from a perspective of a bank how this thing is rolling out. And typically, there's an advantage to it or opportunities around it, and there are risks around it for any financial services institution. As Akbank, we chose to embrace the whole thing, and we chose to really work with every type of idea, test ideas, fund ideas, integrate those startups into our ecosystem, and not only helping them grow, but also get them to help our growth as well. So talking about it, and we are pragmatists. We are not really, when we want to really start spending money, working around things, we want to make sure that those things are turning into reality and delivering results within foreseeable future. And foreseeable future is like a year for us. So I'm going to talk about things that are foreseeable and where we are interested as a bank and where we see real value in the foreseeable future. So we kind of work in this four areas, right? And where blockchain has been impacting the world or our world drastically, and we believe it will be doing that further. First area is, okay, this beamer doesn't work, I guess. It does, but it's too light, okay? Blockchain for cross-border payments. As typical, as a bank, blockchain is offering you another way of a trust network. So changing what the network of banks has been doing since a very long time. A trusted relationship, a trusted network, that people believe in each other, and there are contracts, there are relationships. Now with blockchain, there is a lot of efficiency in this area, cross-border payments. So the money transfers is changing drastically. You don't need anymore the middleman. You don't need anymore all this complex hopping stations. What you need is a sound network that all the members are together, aligned around the single reality. And this is a bliss. It's great for a bank. So that's one area that we believe there will be further and further development, and we will be in that. So we are investing in that. And trade finance is another area. When you're selling goods and receiving goods, and you're sending money or basically issuing an LC for an international trade, an LC mechanism, letter of credit, for the ones who are not really in the financial services, is basically guaranteeing a payment upon mostly arrival of goods or receipt of goods. So if I'm buying something from another country as a tradesperson, I guarantee the payment with the LC through the bank. Why do we need an LC? If already a trust network exists, And you don't need to create that on a piece of paper and send it across the border, and people look at it and say, well, this is going to work, this is not going to work, my payment is secured. You don't need an LC, actually. So another middleman gone. So the relationship is getting peer-to-peer, and we are also working on that and investing on that. Another area is for authentication. But before that, let me go to the blockchain in capital markets. And capital markets are getting shaped with this blockchain a lot. Again, is a good alternative to the trust network. So the interbank exchanges, capital market exchanges, why can't be done on blockchain in a simpler, faster, easier way? These are all true. And the authentication. This is more about the individual. It's about identifying yourself in a secure and trustworthy way again. So a digital ID is a dream, right? It's something we all need. If there is a digital identifier running on blockchain, as a bank, although you're not my customer, you can come to me and knock my door and say, here is I am, and I am who I say I am. And you certify that. And that's a huge value for getting new customers in and defining them in your systems in a second, basically, without presenting papers, your national identity, signatures, all that mess. Can we do that? If we do that, that's already a huge efficiency across the border for the whole community, for the citizens of a country, for example. So that's another area that we are working on. Very quickly, we are turning it into reality. We became the first bank to test, for example, Ripple. Ripple is one of those blockchain successful companies. And we are a member of the Ripple network. And with Ripple network, now we can transfer money across the border with other institutions, part of the network, without using any intermediaries, another bank, and costly, basically, transfer fees. And this is also good for the customer, too, because today, when you're using the existing methods, the customer doesn't know when the money is going to arrive exactly, when they send it. They don't know what the cost will be exactly. In the course of transfer, they don't know where the money is. With this type of technology, you exactly know when it's going to happen, how much it's going to cost. It's fast, less costly, transparent. So it's a big change, also for the customer. It's also for the bank. So we are part of that. And there are lots of trials in the trade finance, as I said. The whole LC mechanism will go out of banking very soon, I believe, if this models. There are lots of constellations of banks working on this topic. So the chain of blockchains will be an important topic very soon, because all these groups of banks creating all these consortiums, so trying to put together or erect a trade finance structure, they will need to get connected soon as well. But this will grow as well. I'm giving you very pragmatical things. If you're the investors in the idea, if you're the interest holders, or you want to do something around, we believe these are the areas as a bank that we will spend money and invest. The capital markets, NASDAQ, NYC, they're already working on very bright ideas about how to handle transactions across those exchanges through blockchain networks in a clear and nice way. And there's an example from Singapore, which I like particularly, Kik. They came up with this digital ID, and all the banks subscribe to it. And now in Singapore, obviously they are building it up now, but in Singapore, now the citizens can use their digital ID and simply go to any bank saying, from a digital environment, and say, here I am, and you can take me as a customer, or here's my application as a customer. You don't need to go and spend time. So all those areas are the key areas that we believe. I discussed this. So from my point of view as a bank executive, the next frontier should be, for the ones who's going to look into it, the banking is based on trust and security and risk management. So the risk management part is yet to be addressed. So how do you address risk management between the creditors, loan and deposit? So at the moment, we are not still being able to find the solution to that, a clear solution that is working. And once a blockchain solution comes up with network, the blockchain managing the risk of that network, the loan to deposit risk of that network, that will be the new rise of a new banking, a total new banking, which I believe is not too far away. It will come also very, 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 very soon, but still in the infancy. So what we have done is we created something called Akbank Lab. Akbank Lab is not an R&D house. Akbank Lab is a place where we do financial services innovation. So here I suggest anyone who is interested, who has hot hands to work with us, and even hot ideas to work with us, to come and work us. We basically fund ideas to work with them and to build solutions in those areas together with us. Anybody who can really spend time with us on the blockchain, we are happy to finance and work together. So unless you have questions, I sit and I give it on to Vladimir to go into the details. Last word, I would like to say, what are the risks and challenges we are facing? All big institutions like banks can only invest in areas, and you might not like what I'm about to say, that is regulated. Because I cannot really go ahead and invest into a technology where there is no regulation. Can I sell cryptocurrencies to my customers? That's a question, right? Can I sell that as a bank? I cannot, because I knock the door and I say I want to sell this. There's no regulation about it in certain countries. So basically you cannot, because I cannot come tomorrow. Is there an Akbank customer here? Like, can I see the hands? Okay, lots of Akbank customers. So if one of you, I come and I say, well, what I have done is now banned or not anymore available, so I have to take back the service, I cannot do that. I have to be credible, sustainable, long-running. So the regulation needs to be in space. That's the number one challenge to adoption of these technologies. So there has to be a regulatory piece working together. And obviously a lobbying piece with that, working together to explain these technologies and get them back onto the mainstream. Another thing is the companies we are working are generally pretty small. Again, there's a risk of the company, whether the company will survive further or will not survive. So we are taking, when we partner with someone, we have to also take the risk of this company, this innovator company will survive or not. And again, the same topic continues. I cannot really vest a service on a company and then that company all of a sudden changes course, changes idea, taken over, or just dissolves into ether all of a sudden. We cannot do that. So until this thing, for this thing to become, a main course thing, I think regulation has to be in place, and all these companies need to arise. We are working with kinds of Ripple, which are comparably stronger, more established, but that's where we are. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Vladimir Dubinin. I'm from Ukraine, from a company called Distributed Lab. I'm a CEO of the company, and we started 3 years ago as a blockchain expertise center. Today we are about 50 people. Most of them are developers and researchers, and we are focused on blockchain-based applications for financial industry. So I know that the most popular word today is ICO, but sorry, I will not talk about it. But what we so I will talk about some use cases, and everything I say, so it comes from our experience because we participated in many projects. So we were involved in the development of wallets for cryptocurrencies, different types of exchanges. Very interesting project about decentralized auction. I will talk a little bit later about it. Also, we worked with National Bank trying to develop blockchain-based payment system on a national level. And we made different pilots for central security depositories. And the most interesting thing that we are involved right now is tokenization projects. So this is the least this is the area what we are doing. So if you maybe later will have any questions, I'm okay to answer any of them. So if you try to analyze the structure of financial industry, you will find this type of companies. We talk to all of them. With some of them, we made some pilots, and even some projects go live. But what is I'm worrying about right now is about some kind of pain points that exist in the market. So if we will say about regulators, good things that, and we see great progress in any country that they are very active. So they want to know something, they are trying to understand what is going on, but they are still very slow with new type of regulation, because they they feel Bitcoin and they want to regulate Bitcoin as something like securities or money or something. So they don't understand yet that this is something unique. And they want to take regulation that already exists and make this like in some to adjust this regulation to crypto, for example. But from my point of view, this is not the right way. And when we worked on a project for this blockchain-based payment system for National Bank, we found that when you try to do crypto issued by National Bank, like on a national level, you will need a new type of accounting. And this became a big problem for going live with this project. So as for existing exchanges, what I would like to say is that they became better and better. We developed like a couple of exchanges, and they really became better because, as you know, like every exchange, every day, they're under attack of hackers, like every minute. And but we have no such crashes as in the past. But we have still this structure problem, because existing exchange, they will not exist the way they are like working today, because they because we have credit risk with these exchanges. So you deposit your money on exchange, you deposit your crypto on exchange, and if the exchange disappears, you have nothing. So this is a great problem, and traditional exchanges, they don't work this way. So we will need some kind of custody, clearing houses, and so on. But in reality today, due to the first point, my point, regulation, there is a huge problem with how to, for example, if you are, so this is a problem for, why I'm talking about the things, because well, when industry will solve this problem, Bitcoin price will go to the moon. Just because there is a very small amount of traditional investors right now invest into Bitcoin, because they don't, they can rely on existing custody and exchanges due to the traditional operations. Yes. What is the most interesting today, and what the most interesting use cases appears on the market? They are all about tokenization systems. We were involved into one project about tokenization of physical gold, of allocated gold, and like it was very interesting. What I found, like I think, at my personal opinion, that everything that can be tokenized will be tokenized. Why I'm thinking so? Just because, and all the stories connected with this tokenization part is connected with ICO part. Why? Because tokenization really reduces costs and friction to trade. When you invest in, like not you, but everybody, when everybody invests to ICO, this is a great opportunity, like with liquidity and ability to sell it tomorrow or to transfer and so on. So you don't have this ability in traditional markets. And that's why I believe that everything like money, stocks, derivatives, like real estate, especially like very interesting market is real estate, tokenization market, and everything else will be tokenized. So I think that in the nearest future we will see a totally different infrastructure for all financial markets. Last but not least, what I want to talk about is a very interesting project. This is for last 3 years, I saw that there are not so many blockchain-based applications that are really need blockchain. So the first one was Bitcoin. Bitcoin can't work without blockchain, and the second one is decentralized auction that we developed in Ukraine. So we were trying to develop some IT system for government procurements to totally eliminate corruption. This is the first generation of the system for government procurements, and everything is centralized: UI, database, and bidding. On the next level, they decided to left centralized bidding and just to make typical client-server architecture, and to make an ability for everybody to build their own market for these procurements. And what we made, maybe somebody will be interested in this thing, so I will. I'm free to discuss it later, if you want. So we made totally decentralized bidding. So built this auction as a platform, and it was very innovative things, and this allowed to build a new type of system in which corruption is impossible. Thank you, and if you have any question, I'm ready to answer.
Thank you. So we may have some questions. We still have plenty of time. Thank you. Maybe we can start with Tolga or Vladimir. It's up to you. So, any hands? So I might have the first question. So you just talked about regulation in Turkey. I think that's really important to spread all those technologies to people. So where are we as Turkey on the regulation side? I mean, the Capital Markets Board of Turkey and other institutions.
I think where we are is, we already experienced as a bank when we wanted to establish, for example, this blockchain-based international fund transfer. Regulatory body was very helpful. When we brought the idea, we discussed the idea, they checked the idea, and they said, great, this is fine, this is good, do it. However, at the moment, I think we are all together at the learning stage as a general how to handle blockchain. I don't even talk about ICOs because ICO is a really great topic, which definitely needs regulation, because without regulation, it will not grow as much as we want it to grow, or as a new asset class. This token is an asset class. I believe there are things that we can easily leverage on the regulation piece, like digital identity. It will be great if country takes this as an agenda, and all this digital identification becomes the standard, so we kind of leapfrog what is available in the country compared to other countries in a click of time. We are already digitizing the country in Turkey, but for example, this type of opportunity is just in front of us, and we have to take it as quick as possible. I think we are learning, basically. We are listening and learning. That's the stage where we are at. And I think historically, Turkish financial services industry has been very strong, headstrong, making changes, very successful in most cases. I think we will try to see the same thing happening also in this area too.
And what about crowdfunding? Because the regulation on crowdfunding is just coming up. So I think blockchain might be very useful on that side as well. So maybe you can elaborate on that subject as well.
I think this licensing piece for this new crowdfunding story is bolder. It's a problem to again distribute it to a larger community, because the very spirit of crowd sales in the ICO and everything is the fact that investors don't require a license. Investors don't require a license to fund something, and in this case, there will be a license requirement in the scenario that worked out in Turkey, and that's not going to help much. So if the license isn't there, it can turn into this angel investor story again, with very little number of angel investors in the game, and not much. Again, I think the investment shouldn't need to be licensed, but the term sheet of that relationship between the investor and the party that is getting the investment has to be regulated very, very quickly. So that two things will help. So the investment end has to be loosened up, investor end has to be loosened up, and the party collecting the money has to be well defined from a term sheet standards point of view.
Okay, my last question for Vladimir as well. So you just mentioned that your company has just grown to 50 people. So where do you see the opportunities? So where are you growing to?
The opportunity is huge, I can say, because as I told, like, everything will be changed from the point of from the point of software infrastructure in financial markets. So I think that we are still very, very small company, and they know that. But we see demand, huge demand, but the only restriction right now is the speed of regulational changes from side of for example, National Bank and Securities Commissions and so on.
Guys, please.
My question is to Mr. Ulutas. First of all, I want to congratulate Akbank because it is a leading bank in the industry that pays attention to new technologies like blockchain and others. My question is about Ripple. Akbank is a Ripple partner, as you said. In this partnership, do you use the Ripple coin XRP? How is the things going in this partnership?
Yes, we are not an exchange point between XRP and basically fiat. So that exchange is taking place on the background, and we don't do this conversion. It is invisible to our customers, so we are sending whatever the unit is sent through without any. The exchange is taking place as a technical step, invisible to the end user customer. So whatever we are sending, if you are sending USD, it goes through USD. Although the exchange is taking place momentarily as a technical step, so there is no exchange loss or gain and etc. It's straightforward.
Thank you.
And there's a gentleman over there.
I just want to follow up the same question because it's interesting. I understand that the client doesn't face with the FX risk, but the Ripple itself, its value is fluctuating.
Yes.
And how does the bank handle the FX risk over there?
The Ripple itself as a company, you mean the value of the company is fluctuating?
No, the currency itself.
The XRP is fluctuating.
Yes, because at one side, your bank should be taking the position, and in a short period of time, maybe it's taking a minute or 10 minutes, there will be a value difference. So how do you handle that?
Yes, what we are doing is on the background, as I said, it's a technical exchange that is not happening. The XRP is used not as a currency, but a technical token in our case. We are moving through fiat only. So we don't really go into XRP, take a position and replace that position with a USD again, because we are doing USD to USD. And yes, as a bank, you can have also a role, if you wanted to, as a Ripple network provider, you can take a role about the exchange provider. And there are some banks who wanted to do this. I think there's one or two banks already in the Ripple network doing that. And that's another game. We didn't want to do that because we solely wanted to have transfer only, not any exchanges.
Any more questions? Yes, Sanga, please.
I have a question.
The microphone is just coming behind you.
I have a question for Vladimir, actually. There's been a lot of talks about decentralization, and we've seen a lot of products move to decentralization on the exchanges. We've seen Etherbit, and so many more, Cribble in Singapore, etc. But and that's a great way to avoid regulations or comply with them, because then you are not centrally dictating everything. And then you also mentioned your product on a very decentralized environment. Where do you think this thing is moving from a decentralized, a truly decentralized point of view? You think everything will go there, or we'll have something like a private blockchain like Ripple, or a normal Bitcoin, or move to a fully decentralized thing?
Okay. Thanks for the question. From my personal point of view, the most interesting thing, like for today is a decentralized exchange for Bitcoin. But I mean, exchange Bitcoin with fiat. So how I see what I see will be the most interesting thing will appear like in 1 year. We will have fully compliant exchange where banks are involved. And you will have the decentralized exchange between these banks. So you will be able to open, for example, like in some countries, you will be able to open to open a personal account in Bitcoin and in fiat, for example. And customers of banks will be able to trade in this decentralized exchange. So this is, but this is for nearest future. But in the future, I think that all trading will be decentralized totally.
Okay, maybe 1 or 2 last questions. Anyone? Okay, so thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.